Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Riaz here from Blades and Triggers. And we're always faced with a difficult scenario of what to get to fill our PCP air rifles. We actually had a look at the hand pump a little earlier, once before on the channel, and basically how to go from assembling it to actually filling your air rifle. But today I've got your mini compressor in front of me. So we're taking a look at how to assemble this and actually fill a PCP air rifle, and seeing how simple it is compared to the normal hand pump that you obviously get. You do get a couple of different variances or different products to fill a PCP, namely your hand pump or a basic dive cylinder, and then most likely lastly your compressor. So this specific unit is quite nice, 12 volt to 220 volt, so it's mobile, and yes, you can basically be self-sufficient as well. So yep, we're going to be unpacking this specific bad boy and showing you what it's all about, so stay tuned. Alright, so let's take a quick look at what you get with the compressor and actually fact to get it going. For starters, you get your normal instruction manual, or your basic instruction manual, and I must say the instruction manual is quite detailed with a lot of pictures on how to get the unit going. And if you need to service the unit itself, it does give you a bit of details on what could go wrong in terms of troubleshooting as well. You will also find a bag with a couple of O-rings, and that would generally be in terms of if you need to service it, and a couple of filters that you can keep to avoid moisture getting into your gun itself. And then the next part, or one of the more important parts, would be your power plugs. So you get one power plug that will go into the normal wall socket, that's your 220 volt plug, and the second plug would be, quite interestingly enough, for your 12 volt battery, or you can actually, mainly plug this onto a car battery and get it going. So the cool thing about this, in most cases you don't need any external power supplies. All that you need to do, plug that into the unit and into your car battery, and then it gets going. And then last but not least, the main item that will attach that's a compressor to wherever you're actually going to be filling. In this case, an air rifle or a dive cylinder, or not dive cylinder, but a cylinder, smaller air cylinder. And you get your filters, the small white filters that fit into there, and that will just trap any moisture that goes from your compressor into whichever other part, or the gun alternative bottle that you're going to be filling up. So let's get everything assembled, or take a look at how to get it assembled, and then we can test it out and see how quickly it fills our rifle. Alright, so taking a look at the compressor, we have two main ends. To the side over here, that is where your power cable goes in, and as mentioned, your 220 volt on the top. Alternatively, if you have, or if you're going to be using it externally, you can plug your 12 volt at the bottom. Interesting part of the compressor, and this will be able to fill up to around about 300 bar in pressure. Cool thing about it, you have your pressure gauge that you have on the right hand side over here, that you can actually preset. So for auto stop, you can actually set it up to either 3000 psi or 4500 psi, and it will automatically switch off when it reaches that velocity, or that pressure. You got your temperature gauge over here, and the max temperature that the compressor would actually go up to is around about 80 degrees in Celsius. So in most cases, in that case, it will give you a bit of a warning and shut off, or you can actually monitor it in there, so for it not to go higher than that. On the left hand side, your on and off button for your compressor, and more importantly, the cooling system, your fan. So before you actually switch it on, or before you start compressing, pop on the fan. It will keep your compressor cool and get you going from there. And then lastly, the main end, or your outlet. You get a quick coupler that basically just fits onto the end, your exit pipe over here, and your open or your shut of your bleed valve at the bottom. So once the compressor is completely, or your tank is completely filled, you bleed the system so that you can actually allow to, or you can remove your tank or your rifle from the compressor itself. That's about it in most cases, what you need to actually know on the compressor. More importantly, there's a couple of warnings that you need to bear in mind as well. Not to fill above 3000 or 300 bar, and also just to watch your temperature gauge as well. But okay, we're gonna plug this on, get it going, and fill up a rifle. All right, so we've got everything set up. Our probe basically fitted into the gun itself and connected to the compressor. I managed to put in the power, plug in the power cable on the side of here, and that's the reading you'd actually get when you put it on for the first time. We're going to be setting our pressure gauge to cut off at around about 3000 psi, and once I start the compressor, it will basically equalize to the pressure that you actually have in the tank or in your gun for starters, and then from there filling up. So for starters, we'll basically switch on the fan, and yeah, as you can hear things starting up. I'm gonna close my bleed valve at the bottom, and then all it takes is basically just switch on the compressor. So yeah, let's get going, and then you can have a look at what the full pressure is and how long this actually takes to wet filling. Alright, so here we go. So I've got the pressure gauge set at 3000 psi, and as soon as I engage the compressor, you hear a little bit of a different noise coming out of it. And for starters, it will equalize my pressure, and as soon as it slows down, which is around about there, so current my tank pressure on my bottle was just under 2000 psi, and now we start filling. On the right hand side, I've got my temperature gauge, and that will fluctuate depending on how hot the compressor gets, and on average we'll see how long it takes to get this thing filled up. A good tip or the hint to do is to make sure you always monitor your pressure itself, or your temperature. You could always leave it, or you can always leave this the compressor to fill up completely because you have an auto stop, but it's always advisable to watch what your temperature is giving out and not to overheat the compressor. So I've started that fill from just under 2000 psi, and you can see it's gradually going up, filling up to around about 3000 psi, and yeah, we'll see how long that takes. Other thing to mention as well is you obviously can hear the noise coming from the compressor, so be prepared for a little bit of a little bit of noise while filling up your gun, but once everything is full, then the fun starts. So you can see the temperature going up, and I'm currently around about 2500 psi. Alright, heading to the finish line, so we'll basically see what it does. On the cutoff, the compressor should stop filling. And there we have it. Our full pressure got to around about 3,000 psi, and that took us on average around about 3.5 minutes to get it filled from around about 2,000, just under 2,000 psi to around 3,000 psi. So quite a nifty unit. And as you can see, with us just keeping the fan on, that cools down the temperature, keeping the compressor nice and cool. And the next step would obviously just be to bleed my tank, and it will drop down to 0 again. Alright, and there we have it. If you're looking for a simple solution to actually filling your PCP air rifle, alternatively your normal paintball high pressure air bottles, then 12 volt compressor, 12 to 220 volt compressor would do the trick. All you need to do is basically set your, or preset your temperature, or your pressure, sorry, that you want the rifle to be filled up to, and watch it do the work itself. You can actually find this at any BNT store nationwide. Alternatively, shop online at bntonline.co.za. See you on the next one, and yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, the bell notification up above. Thanks for watching.